Hello everyone. In this presentation, I will cover the requirements of the research essay and provide some tips for writing a strong one. Understandably, the research essay can be intimidating for a lot of students. However, the following suggestions and guidelines can help make the whole process easier. So let's dive in. In defining a research essay, I would like to keep things simple. There are a wide variety of directions a research essay can take, and for the purposes of this class, I will define two different types of research essays, informative and argumentative. I want to focus for a bit on these two research essays because my composition students tend to get the two confused, and so I'd like to draw a clear distinction between them. For an informative essay, the writer gathers research on a topic and presents their findings. An informative essay seeks to only inform the reader about a specific topic. Typically, this type of research essay will not attempt to persuade the reader or to argue a specific point of view. They will simply present the information. For an argumentative research essay, the writer will gather research on a topic and present an argument or solution that is supported by the research. In this type of essay, the writer will seek to argue a specific point of view. They will seek to present a possible solution to a problem they have found, for instance. And it's this type of essay that students will be asked to write in this class. For the research essay, you can write about almost any topic you wish. It just needs to be controversial or a problem that needs to be solved. In other words, there needs to be a debate surrounding the topic so that you can take a side and/or present a workable solution. Now, this does not mean you have to choose a serious topic like politics. I've had students write about which Sith Lord is the most powerful in the Star Wars universe. I have had students write about which is better, Ford or Dodge trucks. The topic is up to you, so have fun with it. The only topics that will not be accepted are abortion, the death penalty, and the legalization of marijuana. These topics are overdone, and students often become lazy when writing about them. They tend to regurgitate the ideas of others rather than present their own unique solutions. Do not choose one of these topics. Now, let's move on to the required sources for the research essay. The essay must have at least 5 total sources, including 1 book, 1 academic or scholarly article, and 1 credible website. The 4th and 5th sources will be up to you, but they will need to be credible. When it comes to books, ebooks do count, and you do not have to read an entire book. You only need to read enough to find the information you need to support the research essay's argument. For the most part, this will require you to read 1 or 2 chapters. Use the table of contents to help you find the needed information. OC's Learning Resources Center, or LRC, has a search feature on its website called Super Search. One of the databases is a collection of ebooks. Use the link provided in this slide, or go to Odessa College's main website and look for the LRC link at the bottom of the home page. When it comes to academic or scholarly articles, you can use the following tips to help you recognize them. An academic article is an essay published in a peer-reviewed journal. Academic journals, when the editor receives an article, will send the article to at least 3 other specialists in the field who will review the article for credibility and the soundness of its argument. It's this process that makes academic journals and the articles they publish more credible sources of information. Most library databases will inform you if the article is an academic article, usually with an icon to the left of the article's title. You can also limit search results to only academic journals, so look for that option. An academic article's author is usually a specialist in their field and associated with a college or university. So look for the author's bio on either the first or last page of the article. The article will also have many citations and a long list of references and sources. Typically, most academic articles will have at least 2 to 5 sources for each page. A 20-page article, therefore, will usually have 50 to 100 sources on its Works Cited page. Speaking of length, most academic articles will be around 20 to 30 pages. Some will be shorter, some longer. I personally have read an academic article that was around 60 pages long. As such, you will need to manage your time wisely when it comes to reading and understanding these articles. The LRC's Super Search will also be helpful here. Use the link on this slide or visit the LRC website. Websites are the easiest sources students can find, but that also makes them the more difficult to trust because there's a lot of misinformation out there on the internet. Therefore, here are a few tips to help you recognize a credible website. First, the website itself needs to be trustworthy. Websites with the following endings are typically trustworthy: .edu and .gov. Education and government resources are less likely to publish faulty information. Websites with .org endings can be trustworthy, but be skeptical. Both websites for Wikipedia and the National Rifle Association end with .org. However, neither is typically considered a trustworthy source of information. Wikipedia can be edited by anyone, and the NRA's website information is heavily biased because the organization has a specific political agenda. When it comes to commercial or .com websites, we need to be at our most skeptical. Anyone who can purchase a domain can post information to the internet. This is where name recognition can be helpful. If looking at information from a news organization, make sure it is a reputable news organization. This can even apply to other kinds of websites. If you're going to argue that Dodge trucks are better than Ford, you would need to find a source that is trustworthy regarding the quality of automobiles. In addition to the websites, we must also be able to trust the author who is providing the information. Is the author unbiased, well-reasoned, and thorough in their research and conclusions? Reading the article is a good way to test this, but I also suggest reading more of what they have written for the website. Usually, their names are hyperlinks. When you click on their names, the website will provide a list of other articles written by the same author. Reviewing these can help you determine if the author is a trustworthy source of information. Double-checking the author's sources, usually provided through hyperlinks directly in the article itself, is another way to determine the author's credibility. What kind of sources do they use? Are those sources credible? And finally, look to see if other credible websites publish the same information. If they do, then the likelihood of the information being trustworthy rises. While it's true that authors and websites can have specific political biases, this does not mean that they are untrustworthy. Everyone is biased in some way. You, me, everyone. What matters is how much we and others try to mitigate those biases. The less a source recognizes and attempts to limit its own biases, the less trustworthy that source is. Once you know how to find and recognize the types of sources you will need, I suggest taking stock of your research by asking the following questions. First, do you have all the required sources? As stated before, the required sources are one book, one academic article, and one credible website. The other two required sources can be your choice, but they must be credible. Study guides, encyclopedias, and Wikipedia, while informative, do not have the kind of in-depth analysis that is required of a research essay. So do not use these sources in your research essay. Second, have you read through and watched all of your sources? Do not save this for the last minute. It will take time for you to understand and process the information, and that's not including how to incorporate the information into your essay. Give yourself plenty of time to read through and watch all of your sources. On a side note, documentary videos on YouTube can be used as a source as long as the creator is a credible source of information. For instance, news organizations. And third, did you take notes? Annotating sources as you review them will help you generate ideas and make it easier for you to find information later. It will also help you to comprehend the source. Write as many notes as possible when reviewing your sources. Once the research has been read, or maybe while you've been taking notes, you will need to start organizing your ideas into potential paragraphs. These ideas will need to support the essay's argument or thesis. Creating an outline can help with planning out the essay. Additionally, the outline does not have to be filled out in order. So introduction, first body paragraph, second body paragraph, and so on. You can start with the first body paragraph or even with the third or fourth body paragraphs. Fill in the information and ideas that you have at the moment. In fact, working on the body paragraphs first will better prepare you for writing the introduction and conclusion later. The body paragraphs should be organized in a logical way. When organizing the body paragraphs, think about what needs to be proven first. Look to your thesis and ask yourself, what do I need to prove first in order to support the thesis? From there, ask yourself, what do I need to prove next? As for the body paragraphs, please remember that body paragraphs should focus on and develop a single idea. And while you may be tempted to keep the organization the same, you may find that body paragraphs need to be rearranged. And that's perfectly okay. Most essays change in the writing and in the revising. Hence why writing instructors ask you to write multiple drafts. Most ideas become stronger and clearer in the revising process. As you review your research, take notes, and organize ideas into potential paragraphs, you should start formulating a thesis statement. A thesis statement should be directed by the evidence rather than by your own personal feelings or biases. Craft a thesis statement that can be supported by the evidence the essay will provide. A thesis should answer the following question. What is a potential answer/solution to the topic you have chosen? Answers can vary greatly, but whatever the answer is, it should be supported by evidence rather than personal opinions. The rest of the essay should support whichever answer you express in the thesis. Therefore, the thesis is the foundation of your entire essay. To create a strong thesis, it should have the following components: a topic, a claim, and whatever main ideas will support that claim. Take a look at the example thesis on this slide. People using social media must be more critical of the memes they share because they can be perpetuating unhealthy gender stereotypes. According to my thesis, the topic is people sharing gender memes on social media. The claim is, must be more critical of the memes they share. And the supporting idea is, because they could be perpetuating unhealthy gender stereotypes. A strong thesis will have all three of these components. After writing a working thesis, I suggest focusing on the topic sentences for each of your body paragraphs next. Each topic sentence should express a focused claim that supports the thesis. The paragraph will support the topic sentence's claim with evidence and analysis. Once the topic sentences have been written, insert the evidence needed to support the topic sentence's claim into the outline, including direct quotes, summaries, paraphrases, and in-text citations. Doing this will help you organize the evidence so that you won't have to hunt for it later. When it comes to the body paragraphs and evidence, use only the evidence needed to support the topic sentence's claim. Keep direct quotes to no more than 4 lines of text. Paraphrases and summaries should be equally brief, no more than 3 sentences. Doing this will prevent evidence from overwhelming the body paragraph. The reader does not need to be overwhelmed with information. They want to know what you think about the information and how it all supports the thesis. After all, if they wanted to know the information without context, they could look it up themselves. They want to know how you interpret the evidence. Therefore, the analysis should dominate the paragraph, not the evidence. In the analysis, you need to make a direct connection between the evidence and the topic sentence's claim. Not providing this connection for the reader assumes that the reader will interpret the evidence in the same way you do. Do not make this assumption. Relying on the reader to make the connections you intend them to hands the reader control of your own argument, and they will take it in a direction you did not intend. Be as direct and as thorough as possible when explaining how the evidence supports the topic sentence's claim. Entire books have been written on writing research essays. This presentation is no book, and so I will end here with some final tips. First, write a little bit on the outline and draft every day. Do not write the entire essay in one sitting. That way lies exhaustion and poor development. Devoting a few minutes each day to writing will make the entire essay less daunting. As I indicated earlier, write the introduction and conclusion last. Although I suggested writing the thesis statement early, this does not mean you have to write the introductory paragraph first. Students will often get stuck on the introduction, worrying about how to hook the reader. Instead of worrying about a hook, focus on the thesis statement. Next, write the body paragraphs, and then write the introduction and conclusion. Speaking of hooks, I find them an unnecessary and unhelpful way for students to start an essay. Instead, I suggest starting this with a simple statement about the topic itself. Introduce the reader to the topic. Don't worry about hooking the reader. Thank you for watching, and please let me know if you have any questions.